Hello and welcome back to the Weird and Proud podcast. It's Sam and
James.
I was just gonna say I should have said it's Samantha.
Samantha. Taha. It's like they say that
Samantha.
they said the T and the H separately.
Samantha and James. Hello, everyone. I feel like we have kind of like lived many lives since the last time we've been on here because we've just been gallivanting through España, not Española.
No.
And this is going to be a special episode because let me just tell you, James and I got home today. We're recording this on Sunday, May 12th. Okay. We got home from the airport at like 3. So we flew in this morning. We were up at 5 a.m. this morning, which was really 11 p.m.
11. We were up at 11
our time.
p.m.
And now it's 8 o'clock at night, U.S. time, when it's really like 2 in the morning for us right now.
Not a whole lot of sleepy McSleeps.
Yeah, not a whole lot of sleeps. That's the thing about a European vacation is like, especially like the way we planned it, is it's not like your typical relaxing, lay by the beach, do nothing type of vacation.
No.
And there's two. I feel like there are always going to be like two types of vacations, like the one where you're relaxing by the beach, do nothing on the schedule, or it's like an adventure, multiple layers of travel, exploration. And we did an exploration vacation, and I'm so grateful. Like, I know not many people get to do this. Like, it was an amazing trip, but I'm tired. I am broken.
I mean, I think that I find it that I'm just as relaxed on even an exploring vacation
Yeah.
as a lay by the beach vacation. Yeah.
I think just more, I had more pressure because I had planned this.
There was definitely more pressure on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had planned and booked everything, and we'll get into that. So basically today we're just going to I had so many questions. I posted like what questions you guys have about Spain, and just our travels and all the places we went. And last time we did this for Fiji, 6 months ago, a lot of people really loved it. It was like one of our highest viewed and listened to episodes, by the way. Yeah. So not your normal, construct of our episodes, of our weird episodes. It's mostly going to be geared towards Spain and all the questions that you guys have, and like how this happened, how my mom moved there. Cause I know that's probably one of the biggest questions is like, wait, your mom just like moved to Spain and she's not Spanish in any way, shape, or form. She barely even speaks Spanish, and we will get into that. So, but before we get into all the Spain stuff, quick reminder to get your tickets for the remainder of the tour that is going on. Coming up next week, Long Island, New York, Sunday, May 19th. I'll be in Levittown at Governor's Comedy Club. It's a Sunday. Come one, come all. We'll be hanging around for sure after. There is a meet and greet. And we'll see like what the schedule brings, but I would love to. I always love hanging down in Long Island.
Yeah, absolutely.
We always have a fun time. We always got to do a foodie spot. There's so much good food down there. So anyways, more to come. Stay tuned on the Instagrams. And then shortly after that, we go to Chicago.
The
last weekend in May. It actually ends up being like Friday, May 31st and Saturday, June 1st. So the weekend after Memorial Day, we'll be in Chicago at the Comedy Bar, and we're doing Friday and Saturday night shows. So, kind of a big deal.
Chicago was a super fun show last time.
Yeah, I did a show there.
Great people.
Just about a year ago, and they gave me like a Thursday night spot, and then to get like that's always like a really good feeling when they're like, "Come back, we give you the weekend." So get your tickets. And then after that too, we also are going to be in New York City in June. We're going to be in Boston. So make sure you get your tickets at samantharamsell.com/events. They're all listed there. And of course on my Instagram as well. Look for updates. But without further ado, James, how are you feeling? Are you like dying right now?
Yes. I think a lot of the tired that you're talking about, I agree. I think that the education vacation.
Yeah.
right, and the relaxed one, it really comes down to what time difference are you in
Yeah.
and what kind of travel are you doing coming home,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
I think that that comes down to a lot of the tiredness in that first day back.
Yeah, yeah, just because the time difference just really screws with you, and, like, we both, like, we'll sleep on airplanes, but, like, everyone knows who sleeps on airplanes. It's, like, not the best
No.
sleep. You're not, like, going into deep REM sleep, and you're lucky if you can get in, like, an hour before someone wakes you up.
I think a big part of it too is the length of time that you're gone for.
Yeah, that was also, like, a long time because that is if you're going to Europe, like, you have to at least do a week. I mean, you don't have to, but it's we were gone and we did 4 cities. But we'll get it. We have a bunch, so many questions that people submitted on Instagram, and I kind of want to set the stage if you miss chapters of the story or if you haven't followed along as much on Instagram. My mom moved to Spain. Spoiler alert. And she moved there about 2 years ago now, just about 2 years ago. And it's kind of a crazy story because that's definitely one of the biggest questions is like, how the hell did she do this? Is this even possible? Because that's always like a dream I feel like that people have at one point in life. So it's like, I just want to like sell all my stuff and move to Italy or like move to, another country. And it's like, how do you do that? And while it was one of those things too. I was thinking it would have been nice maybe to like interview my mom. Like I was like, oh, we
Oh.
should have like maybe brought the podcast stuff so I could have like asked my mom these questions. But I got the gist. And a lot of it too is like it just totally depends on your situation, obviously. But I'll tell you kind of what my mom did. And she basically had a couple years ago was getting out of a excuse me. a little bit of a messy divorce. There was some personal stuff going on, some trauma. And she was really like, looking to retire, but at this point was like I have this house that I really don't need. Obviously all the kids have moved out, like I'm not, with anyone she's single and she's like, what I don't know what I want to do. Like I can't figure out. Like she kind of was having like her eat, pray, love moment in a way where she's like, what am I gonna do? And my aunt, her sister, married a Polish man like 20 years ago. But a couple years ago, they moved to Poland and they just found that it was, a better life over there. It was cheaper. Healthcare they felt was better. My aunt has Lyme disease and like found all these Lyme treatment centers over there. And she just ranted and raved about living in Europe and just my aunt, like how amazing it was. So she didn't really have any plans to like, I'm going on this trip to look for somewhere to move, but she just kind of wanted to feel out Europe because my mom had never like really traveled Europe other than like, probably like business trips with husbands or something like that. But it was really like she had never really kind of experienced all of Europe. And her and my aunt went on this backpacking trip. They were like, let's just go and just explore and go to parts of Europe you haven't been. So she went to France and Spain and Portugal and Poland and kind of just traveled all over for a little bit. And my aunt ended up bringing like one of their last stops in Spain was this town called Altea. And if you know Spain at all, I mean, it's basically the east coast of Spain. It's like the eastern coast of Spain. And it's basically like if you've ever been to Ibiza, you've ever heard of Ibiza. There is a ferry that leaves like right from her town to go to Ibiza. Like she's that close to like that area. It's very Caribbean esque, because it's on the coastline. It's it is gorgeous. So she goes there and it's just like, I love this town. I love the vibe. It's a smaller town. There's like 20,000 people in this town in Altea. And my aunt's friend was a real estate agent who lived in Altea. So they get to talking. They're, going out to dinner one night, and the real estate agent is like, well, you could always move to Spain. I actually just have this gorgeous place that would be perfect for you. And this is like how kind of random it was, where my mom was like, okay, like I'll go check it out. And this real estate woman was like, this is like a prime spot. These condos are really sought after. and it's basically not even on the market yet, but I'll give you a sneak peek. So they go check it out, and immediately my mom is like falling in love with this space. She's falling in love with this town. And it is, I think you guys have probably seen from like my stories and pictures, just like give you a perspective. It's literally on the ocean. They have a pool, it's multi-level because it's kind of like up a hill, basically. It's about a 5-10 minute walk to the beach from her place. And she has 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, like, all obviously I don't know if there is like a gym, but most everything what you would get included in like a condo. I don't We never asked if she had a gym there, but like people like don't work out there
I
or
don't
like
think
go
she
to
does.
gyms. No,
Yeah,
you're right. I don't think she does.
which is not like,
Which is
again,
not
that's just not something they do in
uncommon.
Spain. Yeah,
Yeah. So she was like, "How much is it?" And the real estate agent was literally like, "It's $150,000 for this condo." And my mom's like, "What?" And basically, Maine real estate is so insane right now that like my mom was able to sell her house for like triple the amount than what she bought it for. So she was like, "What if I literally just bought this place with, because she was in the process of selling her house and like trying to find somewhere to live and retire." And it just literally ended up working that way, where it's like she wasn't even really like going around being like, "Let me look at, at different real estate options or look really truly looking into certain towns to live in." She just went to Altea, totally fell in love with the town, just happened to meet this real estate woman that also was like, "Hey, too funny. Like, I moved here." I can't remember where she's from. I think she's from London. Her friend that she talks about, Joanna. I think she's from London. And she moved here and is just obsessed with the town. And they kind of, I don't know if it was that day, but not soon after, she was like, "I'll put an offer in just to see what happens." And that's really, because again, like there's so many ways to get a visa and it can be so challenging. And that's, again, the question is like, how do you get a visa? How does that work? And my mom's even still figuring that out. Like, I will say that, like, she still is like going between the idea of a dual citizenship, but like then you do pay taxes for each country, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So any income you make, you have to give to either, both countries. And she just, is like nervous about if she goes then just to have a full Spain citizenship, then, will she ever have issues getting back into the US and like what that could mean. So she really is like kind of in the process of figuring that out now. But there also is something called the golden visa that she was originally going for, that is like you basically buy in. Like it is like you have to have a little bit of money. You just have to buy in or like give some sort of like original payment to Spain to get your citizenship there. So she's still like, trying to figure that out. In the meantime, like she's literally just been, after 90 days, she'll go out of the EU, she'll come back to Maine, she'll visit friends, whatever. So she still has been technically like doing 3 months there, and then we'll kind of like float around or go like see my aunt or something. But it's tough, and it just depends on where you are in life. But my mom always said that like when people ask her what's the first thing to do, like if I'm thinking about moving to another country, Spain, wherever it is, and again this is more like for Europe, but I'm sure it's kind of similar vibes, is to find a real estate agent, or at least, obviously start doing your research on like what kind of town you would want to live in. It's all the things that you would look for in a town. You want to make sure, especially in a lot of these European cities, some can be slower, some can be more modern, some can be, a little more backwards in their ways a little bit. But find a real estate agent is what she says. So like find a town, find a real estate agent. And really, like, it's almost like if you have property, it's a lot easier than to start the citizenship process. Like once you're actually bought in, you're like, I have proof that like I'm buying into the idea of living here. And that really starts the citizenship process. So obviously easier said than done. there's kind of, there are some hoops you have to jump through. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Like, it does kind of make it look like, oh, she just up and, one day was like, oh, tomorrow I'm moving to Spain and just left. It's a process. It takes years too for even like things to get approved. Like, it's literally, she just got her visit like with the embassy, with this embassy of Spain in February. So to try and discuss her options. So anyways, that's kind of the long and short of it, of how my mom ended up choosing that place. And it really does feel right for her,
It feels so right.
you
Absolutely.
know? Like, it's one of those towns where it was like, and I was kind of nervous when she calls me, was like, I'm thinking about moving to Spain. And I'm like, okay, like, amazing. And she's like, and I think even at that point, she was like, I just put an offer down on a condo. Like, they were like, if you want this condo, you got to put it down right away. Like, it goes, this is a really popular spot, a great location.
That condo would have got sucked
Taken
up
up so
right
quick.
away.
So, she's like, I put an offer down on this place, and regardless, like, I can always sell it, or it can be an investment, whatever. And I was a little like, okay, is this a midlife crisis happening? She had have some things going on in her life. But once we first went there for the first time, we went and visited her last year at almost the same time. And once we got there, I was like, oh, I get, because I can never also picture her in like a really big city.
No.
She's not like a city girl. We're from Maine, from a small town in Maine. So it's like, I couldn't picture her being in like, it's like, even when she was talking about going to visit Seville, like, I don't know if I could picture her living there,
No.
in like a downtown. And it's funny. Altea is the same population as the town that we grew up in and where she's lived in. So it's almost kind of like our town in a Spanish version,
I
almost.
agree. Coastline,
Yeah, with the
right?
coastline, all the beaches. It's like, again, it's there's like one downtown area. Everyone knows each other. It's very community-esque and very active. A lot of bikers, and that's the thing about Spain too, is like, what you were saying about the gym. It's like they don't really go to the gym. Like, they're just very outdoorsy. Like, everything is outdoors. Let's go for a bike. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a run. Hikes are huge.
Yep.
And I'm sure there are, areas where a lot of people go to the gym, but I feel like it's just not as big of a thing.
It's not as big of a thing.
Yeah.
No. So, a lot of soccer, a lot of volleyball. We saw people being active all the time. The gym thing is still it's anywhere, right? But
Right.
it is in more of the beach towns and big cities, and you have a lot of dudes and women that want to have that gym life, right?
Yeah.
It still exists over there. It's just not as, I think, talked about, and it's just not as big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything I missed, do you think, in that
What was the
setting up?
original question?
Well, I was just setting the stage on like why my mom moved there, and then obviously we're just going to go visit her. But I wanted
Yes.
to, for anyone who missed, if people are like, how'd your mom get the visa? And you're like, wait, what?
Oh, you wrapped that one up in a bow nicely. That
Okay,
was
I didn't
perfect.
know if you caught anything else my mom may have asked. So one of the, of course, biggest questions, now getting into the questions, best food we ate, and of course also which city was our favorite. And I guess maybe I should set that up too really quickly. So we did, the beginning of the trip started in like visiting my mom at her place in Altea. So we fly JFK to Madrid, Madrid to Alicante. And the Madrid to Alicante flight is like an hour, and Madrid to JFK is like 7, 8, depending on,
Depending, yeah.
depending on how the winds are flowing. But once we get to Alicante, it's like 45-minute drive to Altea. We're there Sunday. We leave Sunday, and the first place we go Monday is Granada. And Granada, so I feel like we should just go town by town because we were in Granada for 2 days. The Alhambra is the biggest thing to see there, which is like it's like one of the oldest palaces in the country and most historic palaces in the country. And it's literally like built in it was like the second century.
First century,
First century.
700s,
In the 700s.
like 785.
Literally. What's so crazy too is we did like kind of like a little southern tour of Spain. So you forget how close to Morocco we are and how much of that influence, so much of a Muslim influence, a Moroccan influence on this part of Spain, or really, I mean, any part of Spain, all of Spain, but specifically even more in southern Spain in the Andalusia region that we were in. So we did Granada for a couple days. And then, of course, luckily my mom has a car. Then we drove to Cordoba, which was the smallest town that we went to. And they had this little patio festival with all these flowers. Like, we were the perfect time of year because flowers were blooming. It was not too hot, not too cold. All you need is a light jacket. And then we did Seville, and then we ended in Malaga on the beach. So, and then we flew out of Malaga. So that was kind of like our little trip, and in a
Malaga?
week, Malaga,
Malaga.
Malaga. We were going there still asking people, how do you pronounce the city we're in? They still like, could not understand what we were saying. Um okay, so what was your, let's start with, because we're talking about cities. What would you say your favorite city was, James? And I know
It's an
how hard I'm,
impossible
yeah.
answer. It's kind of like, what's your favorite sandwich or what's your favorite pizza topping? It kind of goes, you have to go with the flow sometimes.
Yep.
Every single place we went had its own unique reason why have an argument to be the best
Yeah.
town we were in.
It just depends what you were in the
All
mood
of
for.
them did, right?
Yeah.
Definitely, since we're talking about the order, are we talking about food or are we just saying favorite city? Is that the
Well, I was gonna
question?
say, and then like maybe favorite food in each city, although it was all
See,
kind of
when we skip
similar.
the table of contents and we don't have transitions, I'm lost. But
This is a special episode.
so we're doing favorite city
Favorite
or
city.
food?
Favorite city.
City. Impossible to answer, but I'll give my highlights from each one.
Okay.
Granada was definitely not just the, how do we say it again?
Alhambra.
Alhambra. It was what the representation behind the Alhambra was.
Mm.
It was the place where, and there's a lot of controversy about this, but it was the place where King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella signed the contract with Columbus to come and explore America.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy history that reminds you,
Very kind of important place to
like,
know about,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I thought that was a really interesting reason. The whole region was tied to a lot of what we learned at Alhambra. Was we did learn about the transition from the Muslim culture that was there at first to the Christian culture that came
Yeah.
in,
Yep.
right? And so I learned the term Moorish architecture. So
Yep.
you did get to see a lot of like this just gorgeous Muslim architecture that got converted into
And then it was also
different.
Roman
Oh, it
columns.
had
It was like
all
all the
different elements to it.
influences.
It's just
Yeah.
so interesting to see something like that. And as old as New England is, coming from Wisconsin, New England seems super old. But then you go
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
and New England isn't old anymore.
Well, it just reminds you how, how
It's
young
like,
America
oh,
is compared to these places. You're like, oh wait, oh, in 752.
yeah, this was happening.
It's
So
like, that's crazy.
that's what I thought Granada was just absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic for.
Yeah. And it definitely, it was more of kind of like a college city too. Like I felt like it was a lot of college, like younger, and there's a Granada University, which I know
And there
you
was
would
a
see
school there,
Granada
yeah.
University everywhere. But it was a really cool city. Big, it was one of the bigger ones, and I would totally go back there.
I loved Granada. I did.
Yeah, I liked Granada. I felt like 2 days there was the perfect amount of time.
Yeah. Yep. There was a lot to see. There was a lot to see along Granada too.
Yeah. Was there, so just like to keep it, was there anything memorable that you ate in Granada that you liked the most?
I'm trying to remember where we had dinner in
A lot
Granada.
of fried seafood. And it was funny, like,
We did a lot of the tapas in Granada.
I mean, mostly everywhere is tapas. And what's so cool, and we need to bring this to the US, anytime they served you a drink, they had to serve you something to eat.
And Granada, that was in Granada specifically.
But most
that
places,
wasn't everywhere.
like, even like they'll give you olives.
But Granada
or,
gave you like a full plate of tapas.
yeah,
No.
literally.
I don't even want to compare the two. Like they gave you corn nuts at one of them.
Yeah.
No. In Granada,
Granada was like
they
full
gave
on
you a full-on plate
of
of
fried
delicious
fish.
fried seafood.
Yeah.
No, you can't even compare the two. No, The Granada's generosity with the tapas was way bigger.
Yeah, a lot of seafood in this area, of course, naturally. So a lot of squid, lot of shrimp, lot of mussels, a lot of
Sardines,
yeah, a lot of
anchovies.
sardines, which James loves. Um, and then what were your thoughts on Cordoba,
Let's see. Cordoba, obviously the thing we remember most is
the patio?
the patio. But what I liked about Cordoba was, now back to what I picked up on about just Spain in general. Cordoba really showed just like the pride that Spain has in its culture.
Totally.
Absolutely. You really caught how the beauty of the environment, the built environment around Spain, um, they really do focus a lot of keeping a beautiful space.
Tradition, yeah, and traditions.
And I started noticing it everywhere. Every town we were in, you don't find garbage on the streets. Every like
Oh my god, we could not believe how clean the streets were.
every
How
and
clean everything
there's a
was.
certain level of, again, here in America, we think we have all these freedoms. Well, I can throw stuff out my door and I can,
Yeah,
and we say we don't, but we allow each other to do it. That's the
yeah,
problem,
yeah,
is we see people doing stuff and we should, see something, say something, I
yeah.
guess. But it doesn't happen in Spain. And I'd love to find out the root of why
Yeah, like
just
why
does
people are
not happen.
so prideful of their cities. It's so nice that, like we were saying too, like, a lot of these cities, it's all tile, marble
Just gorgeous
streets,
streets to walk
gorgeous
on.
streets. And so, like, lot of really dog friendly areas.
Yep.
And dogs would be peeing on the street. And instead of just like leaving it there, everyone would carry a water bottle or like a water gun so they could spray and like clean up
Just
the
clean the
ground.
urine, just clean a little bit of the urine up.
We were like, people would never do that in America.
No.
So yeah, that was something I really noticed. And that was Cordoba was again this patio festival that happens once a year, this 1 week in May, where and again, it's been going on for hundreds of years where these houses open up their patios. And in Spain, this is like their version of a patio is like like how would you even like a square inside your house?
So it's more like yeah, it's like a inner, it's what do they call them in an apartment? Like
I haven't
it's a it's like a public area inside of an
right.
apartment.
But it's yeah, I don't even know how you describe it. They call them patios, but it's like really like an opening that's free to the sky. It's obviously open. There's no roof on it. And that's where they put all these plants. And that's kind of where people gather in the house. They go to socialize and catch up with, whoever lives in the house. And they decorate these with flowers. And like not even like one or two flowers, like decked out. I mean, the time it must spend to put these together, it just looks it's insane. Like you just
And again, these are small apartment complexes,
yeah, little
right? And
families.
whole families live there, communities of people. And again, it's like a mini town square, right?
Yeah,
It's
like
like
yeah, it's almost like yeah, it's like
it's
a
like a
mini town
public
square in an
area,
apartment.
right?
Yeah.
It's like American apartments. You have an area that you can all go and rent out and get coffee, and you can go sit down there with a group of your friends. Or
Yep.
some apartments in America, maybe you have like a rooftop area that you can go cook stuff. But this is like it's in the bottom floor, and it's a open like mini
Square.
square area,
Yeah.
like a city square, except in a small apartment
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. And you could just go in these people's houses for free. There'd be lines out the door and they'd let, couple people in. The people who own the home would be standing outside and like describing like one woman had like what she had like a column from the first
First
century in
century,
her
yeah,
house.
yep.
It's just that was really cool. And it was a really small town, Cordoba. So we went to that Cordoban restaurant and had that.
That was one of the best. That's on my top 3 places we ate.
What meat was that? You remember what kind of was that the beef
No,
cheeks?
beef cheeks with Seville.
What was that like crazy? Oh, it was just the amount of pork, and I've mentioned this on Instagram. The amount of pork that these people eat, it is. I mean, it's pretty much the main source of protein
Outside of seafood.
outside of seafood. They do this. It was like ham wrapped in pork, then breaded and fried.
It was so
And
good.
like pork loin, everything so good, so much ham, so much ham. But we got to go to a local Cordoban place that was amazing. All the sangria, so much sangria, all house-made sangria, that was also amazing.
They had their homemade beer. They made their own beer there.
Yep, and we only did 1 day there, which it's always hard, like, to decide how long to stay in one place, but I feel like, with the amount of time that we had, like, 1 day, we got all the patio out.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that were just like, we can't see every fort, and again, my mom loves to walk. She refuses to take taxis, she refuses to take any sort of public transport. We walked I mean, we were averaging at least, like, 25,000
I
steps a
love
day.
walking. I love walking too. You get to see so much more of the city
You
that way.
totally do, but to an extent where it's, like, with stuff we've already seen. And, like, it takes 25 minutes to walk somewhere where it's like, could it be a cab? And then but listen, whatever, whatever. And then we went to Seville,
Yep.
and Seville was one of my favorites. When we got to Seville, I was like, oh, I
I knew
think
you'd
this is
like
my
Seville. You're a
favorite.
city girly.
Yeah, it's also one of the bigger ones. And it was just gorgeous. I mean, the fountains, the churches everywhere, just you literally feel like, and a couple people have commented this, it feels like you're in the inside of like the Vatican or like whatever, what hotel in Las Vegas, not the Vatican. Well, maybe, but a Paris version of it, which is like it feels fake. Like it's like these I can't believe that this is like a real place that people live because of just how picturesque it looks. I just was blown away with how beautiful, and the marble streets, like marble streets.
Just gorgeous. The city walls that are so old that they tie into the city, but um, they upkeep them without ruining them.
Yeah, it just felt way more kind of like rusticer, like less like a city. Like it was a city, but it felt like we'd also like step back in
They
time a
keep it
little bit.
very classic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and really, I was trying to think like what we did in Seville other than just walked around a ton. And that was like by the time, like, this is towards the end of the week when we're like, we've been traveling, and all of these distances to drive to were like 2 to 3 hours, 4 hours in the car.
We didn't do any tours in Seville, did we, or
We didn't,
anything
we kind of
major?
just walked around, went to some rooftops, checked
See,
out the church.
I think one of the great parts of the walking is you get to see so many different
Yeah.
parts of it.
Well, and like Seville is definitely, even Cordoba, I would like to go back to, but if we were thinking like Cordoba might be hard if it's not during the patio festival, just because there might be not too much going on, but still just like an adorable Spanish town. Like, it's like you really can't go wrong. But if you're choosing, if you have a certain amount of time that you can spend in a place, Seville, I might spend a little more time there. And was there anything, did you think anything in Seville? I was trying to think. We didn't really do anything crazy in Seville.
I think just taking like actual tour of
Yeah.
the cathedral, take an
Yeah.
actual tour. Like there were
A lot
so
of
many
Game
different
of
areas.
Thrones scenes were taken in Seville in this huge, they call it the Alcazar.
Alcazar, I think is how
Yeah.
it's
It's like
pronounced.
their like, word that's kind of almost every city has like an Alcazar.
For it's like a converted palace.
Yeah, converted like palace where the rich, the royals would live, and now they've, now we can tour them. But it is apparently insanely gorgeous. But a lot of these tickets, you have to get weeks in advance. They sell out,
Yeah, you got to
and we
get those
didn't get
tickets early. We
tickets,
just
which
didn't.
sunk.
We happened to not get tickets for that one, and it was tough to get in. You would think you could just go in,
I know.
but
We were
again,
trying
with
to maybe break
Spanish
in.
hours, that I love the relaxed culture over there. But again, it's open like 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Like your
Oh my
window of
god.
time is so small to do some of it.
Literally.
Yeah, so like all these tourists are there to do the same thing, except instead of having an 8 or 10 hour window like you would here,
Yeah.
12-hour window,
Yeah.
you've
The
got
hours
like
are so
5 or 6
crazy.
hours, and they're like, "Nope, we open late. We're shutting down early."
Yep. Yep. So I do wish we spent more time there, but then we ended the trip in Malaga, which I felt like was a great way to end because it was on the beach. This is a really nice beach city that I would love to go back to too. We did 2 days there, but I feel like that place you could maybe spend a week there.
Malaga, I definitely would have loved to do a tour of again the fortress
Yeah,
area.
they had another fort, Alcaz. Like it's funny that that's
Again,
the word
seeing
for,
like Malaga had a little more of a Roman influence,
yeah.
so it even was a little older, where there was some stuff from like 400 BC, where
Mm.
they that
It
was
was like one of the
where they
oldest
salted.
cities.
Yeah, it was one of the older city, not oldest, but one of the
One of them.
older s- considered still operating cities in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely one of the oldest ones in Spain.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely wonderful to see. And again, when a city's that old, there's a new city usually built on top of the old
Yeah.
one. And they did have some little window ways into below the city, so you could see where
Yeah,
they salted
below. That was
fish.
really cool.
So like that's where there were no refrigeration back in. So how do they preserve fish to bring to other areas that to feed armies and people? Like when the Roman Empire was that expansive, is they salted fish in that area,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
very close to the Straits of Gibraltar, right?
Yeah, so close to Morocco. You just forget how close it is.
And that Straits of Gibraltar
Huge
is
port.
the port to get to the Atlantic Ocean from the
Yep.
Aegean and Mediterranean seas. So that area
Yeah,
has so
huge
much
travel.
money and history to
Yep.
it already,
Yep.
and Malaga is so close to that area right
Yeah.
there. That yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny. I didn't know what to expect with the city, but it also was kind of like a party city. It was
very much a party city.
a lot of young kids, another like very like
Bachelor and
college
bachelorette parties everywhere.
everywhere. And it kind of like by the beach, it was kind of had this, you know, excuse me, we were talking about like Miami Beach, like how it feels like it wants to be a
I
Miami
was
type of thing.
reading about it, and it very much, and it already was. Your mom had taken us to a different place closer to hers named Benidorm, which we talked about
Yeah,
last year.
if you any UK listeners or any people, if you know, you know.
And yeah, Benidorm is like the Florida for the
It's
UK,
like the Jersey Shore of the UK.
and the UK does go, but Malaga was definitely way bigger than Benidorm,
Mm,
and just had more of a melting pot. We heard a lot of French, a lot of German, right? A
totally.
lot of those northern European countries that are a little further north were down enjoying the kind of southern coast of Spain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you did get a much more touristy party feel.
Touristy party, lots of
It had other
clubs.
stuff. It had other good things to do, but it was definitely the most modern of all the cities we were
Yeah.
in.
And I was thinking that's like a good place too for like if you want to go to Europe, but you still want like a little bit of a beach time,
Yes,
like you still get the beach. There's still also for like the nerds for you to do like the history
you got
tour and like
plenty of
the old
tours.
Roman columns and doing the
Yep.
old forts. And but there's still amazing food for the foodies. They definitely have the most Michelin restaurants.
There were I
And
ended up
most
looking up.
restaurants, I feel like there were a million restaurants there.
I was There's got to be some. They have to be on some list for like most restaurants in a small amount of area,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was restaurant after
And
restaurant after restaurant after restaurant
yeah, the
in
historic
multiple
district
areas. Yeah,
was gorgeous. It was just a really cool little city, and that I could definitely go back there. So those are kind of like the main cities, and we flew out of there, and it's a party state. Like we were cracking up this morning, which now feels like a year ago. When we were leaving for the airport at 6 in the morning, there were still people it
just
was
coming back from
busy.
the bars.
Like
Yep,
it was literally like all the local like kebab places. Also, if you know, you know, were packed, lined with kids. Just like they're all hanging out in the parks, and it's like 6 in the morning. We're like, oh my god, we just
we're
woke
heading
up
to the
for our flight.
airport. They're all out partying. Yep.
Okay, so now I feel good that now we kind of outlined where we went. So again, you said the best food you ate though overall, Cordoba and
It's
Seville. Or
Yes.
Seville was number one.
No, yeah, I can't give one a number one. Cordoba, just the two restaurants we went to, between the older restaurants of Cordoba and Seville.
Yeah.
You know me,
Love our
I
old
don't need all the
restaurants.
party restaurant with a million people there, right?
Yeah.
I want the old ones that are the best, most
Yeah,
like
the oldest. And
they've
that was
got
in
the history.
Seville. We went to the oldest restaurant in Seville.
Yep,
And that was where we got pork cheeks.
yep,
And that was actually so
that was
delicious.
delicious.
You kind of do have to be open minded no matter where you go or travel. If you're going to another country, you just like kind of have to be open. My mom, she tries to be open. She's kind of somewhat vegan, vegetarian.
She's back to that, yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of vegetarian
She's
now.
gone in and out.
And luckily they do have some options, but like it always is just fun to like try some crazy stuff. And a lot of the times if it's like their specialty and like that is something
That's what I
that
eat.
like they're known for, yeah, like It's worth trying it, and it really was actually delicious. Lots of ham, lots of bread, lots of cheese,
Delicious cheese.
lots of Iberico ham, which if you guys don't know, it's a specific ham to Spain. This is like the only type of ham. They treat their pigs so well. Like that's the other thing too. All the ham that we eat while we're in Spain, most of it is Iberico ham, which is pigs that are led to
Iberian.
Iberian.
Yeah, not
They
Iberico.
Iberian. Well, don't they call like ham Iberico? Maybe that's just like how they name
That's
it.
the company.
But but these pigs are like they live like freely. They
Total
can
free range.
roam, yeah, free range, and they're mostly
Feed
fed
them
acorns,
acorns.
which is like their preferred diet. And apparently, it just
And they're only
makes
grown
it
in this
taste
certain
better.
region, hence Iberian, because they're grown
Yeah,
in Iberia.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they but it's
So
a
the ham
different
is like
delicious type of
next
meat.
level
Yeah.
ham, next level ham. Someone said, did we feel safe there? And I would say totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the main areas where we were. Obviously, we were a group, we had you. But like even if I was by myself, I would have not. I mean, I wouldn't also be going out at midnight walking around by myself, but mostly during the days, we didn't really see many homeless people at all. Some.
It's not the homeless people I would feel not safe around,
Yeah.
right? It's like, are there people that are stalking or following, or are
Right,
there
right,
crimes
right.
going on?
Well, yeah, I
Do
guess
you
not
hear about
homeless,
other
but like
crime, right?
I don't even know the
I
word.
didn't hear about any of that. And the reason I think part of the reason I, even as a bigger guy, I just don't feel as unsafe as a
Totally.
lot of other people. But I'm still cautious. I'm more cautious when I'm around you two, right? I always walk behind you
Yeah.
two so I can see what's going on. Um, but also just paying attention to how people that are already there, not even locals, but like seasoned tourists. I'll give an example. When we were at the beach, we rented one of those umbrellas, right? For like
Mm.
18 bucks for the day. Super cheap. Then you get some shade, right?
Yep. Yep.
But the Swedish couple that was next to us, they seemed so safe and so cool that,
Yeah.
and they like, we just left our stuff there and could walk away. Like, you
Yep.
can't do that everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're in Mexico and even have somebody else watching your stuff, you can't trust that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I 100% do feel safer in Spain than I do even like parts, not to rip on Italy, parts of Italy don't seem
Totally.
as
Getting
safe as Spain.
pickpocketed and sketchy areas.
Yeah,
Well,
Spain seems very safe for that.
yeah. And as long as you're just being smart, like it's the same thing. Like if I have my purse, like I always have it in front of me. I don't have like stuff hanging out or
Yeah,
like
don't
stuff
be
out
an
of my
idiot. It's
backpack.
part of it.
Yeah. Like, just try and be as smart as possible, and be with a friend. I feel like we never felt in any way at any point. Like there would be drunk people out singing, like thinking about some of those guys that were like, but
But
they're
we
not.
weren't like out late any nights either.
Yeah. Yeah. Weren't out like past 1 a.m. So who knows?
We
But
we were home by 11 every night.
yeah, 12. Some nights we went out to 12.
Did we?
Yeah,
Huh.
we were crazy. Was there any like specific favorite part in your mind? Was there like
You have to answer first, I'll think.
I know it's hard to say like favorite part. Mostly just getting to explore a lot of it. Like, and I think that's always, something that not a lot of people get to do. And it is a pain in the ass. Like, if you don't have a rental car and you aren't doing a ton of planning ahead of time, to do 5 cities in 7 days is like, it's a lot of traveling, but it was cool to be able to see so much in such a short amount of time. Like we got to see all these cities and the fact, we got to see the Sierra Mountains in Granada. We got to see the beach, the sandy beaches in Malaga. Like we got to be in the mountains. We were, by that river, the Isnajar, this little town we stopped by. I feel like that was my favorite part, was just being able to like really see southern Spain.
My answer was almost exactly the same. I think it was getting to see the differences in all these towns,
Yep.
but the similarities in the history and the culture that they shared.
Yep.
Again, going to that, looking at this Moorish architecture and then how it converted into modern Spanish Christianity culture, and looking at all of these towns, and they had their cathedral in each of these towns,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Their major gorgeous cathedral, and just to look at what was built at a time way before any modern technology, yet they were still able to execute things to that level.
Yep.
Um, but then also just getting to experience the differences in the towns, right?
Right.
Trying to
Each
see
town's a little different.
certain wines in certain towns are more popular and one
Yeah.
town might not even have it. And you like,
Yep.
we love this type of aioli that you get with bread, and in one town you get it, another town, nope, don't get it.
Yep.
Not like
They
here
look at you like
where,
you're crazy when you ask for it. They're
yeah.
like, "What?"
And I love that. I loved seeing just the Spanish culture. Excuse me, the similarities that exist between the towns, but then some of the major differences. But the
Yeah.
culture that unites all these towns is just an inherent beauty of the culture. Everyone has pride about the towns that they live in,
Yep.
and really do. They really love their culture and seem to take a lot of care in everything
Yeah.
that they do.
Totally.
Yeah.
And obviously Altea is really nice too. Like that would be another trip that we want to do maybe at some point is do like the eastern coast where you do like Altea up to Barcelona, and that's kind of on like the northeast of Spain. So that would be something. Then to just kind of do some rapid fire. Was it expensive? So obviously we talked about housing, like depending where you live. Obviously Altea is a small town. That's why she was able to get it. You know, I'm sure a place in Barcelona is not the same. Um, but food, a glass of
Everything's
wine,
super cheap.
$1, €1. A beer, €1.
It's cheap. Like, that's
It's
the thing.
unless you're going to like a fancy restaurant, like there were some, you know, where it'd be like €20 for an entree. And some of the fancy,
But that's not, that's like half of what it is here still.
yeah,
Still
yeah.
cheap.
Well, yeah, like it equals out to like $25 for an entree.
You can have a great time if food and drink and taking
Yeah,
some tours or what you want to do. You can
you
have a
can do
great,
it for cheap,
you're going to
especially the
pay for your,
tapas.
it's, and Airbnbs are cheaper over there.
Your what?
Airbnbs are cheaper over there than here.
Yes, Airbnb. So that's what we did. Obviously, Airbnbs. I will post all those links to those too. Plan ahead. Um, you know, again, that's something. All the good ones go quick, so make sure you're planning ahead and checking reviews. But that was really cheap. Transportation, like even taxis. You know, again, that's why my mom loves to walk, but it's, you know, similar to what it would be in the States. We just, that's why, like with Airbnbs, I was telling James, my mom, like, I like to choose an Airbnb first and foremost by its location.
Yes.
Like, I do want a spot that's really easy for us to walk to. I'd rather be in the middle of everything and be close to everything than out, save some money, and drive in
You can,
every day.
you can easily, following how Sam books Airbnbs, because she's fantastic at it, right? You just book it near that center square, because all these beautiful, as we were
Yeah, like
talking
find a
about,
square.
the apartment, these small apartment complexes might have small little squares. Every city in Europe has these center squares, right?
Yeah.
Like, New York, a lot of American cities were mimicked after European cities. So they have that center square, that center park. Pay a little more to be close to that, because you'll save and travel, because you can walk to everything that
Yeah.
you're going to.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take a cab, and you don't have to do anything like that.
Yeah, but there are buses and there are some little train
There's such
systems.
good
You just
public transportation over there.
do some research, depending on how much you want to walk.
But if you do your research, I like the walking, so I just say walk everywhere, because you
Yeah,
get to see everything. And then you'll save the money in food and drink over in Spain. You'll pay for your plane tickets just that way,
yeah,
versus
yeah,
paying for $25 drinks in Miami or whatever they get a
yeah. Drinks.
rooftop.
If you stick to like wine and beer,
It's like
it's
$2,
so cheap.
$3
Yeah,
per beer. Food,
literally.
some great food you can get for $8, $9 a plate. Like,
Yep,
it's really, yeah, it's
yep.
very it's really worth it.
Then of course the biggest question is the Spanish. My mom literally did not speak a lick of Spanish when she came and moved over here. She has been working a lot on it, but she's definitely not fluent. She's actually going to like maybe do a workshop for like 6 weeks. It's like an intensive Spanish training, and where you just can kind of be immersed in it, because so many people do speak English and like so many people want to speak English to you. It's like, you know, they can spot a smile away. So, but they obviously appreciate when you're speaking Spanish. And I always feel like if we're going into your country, like I should try and speak Spanish.
Yes.
Like I should do my part, like to try and communicate as best I can. So, you don't have to, but do Duolingo for a couple weeks. That's what I did. I did just a couple weeks of Duolingo to make sure I have a couple of the basics down
Yeah,
again
you
from
were
high
all over it.
school. But I would learn basics, but again, most people speak English. Except some of the smaller cities, you might have a little bit of trouble, but you can get around, especially with Google Translate and everything nowadays. It's like things are so much easier
Yeah.
to like look up and
And
figure it
again,
out.
just like as long as you're trying to speak it, they like that you're trying to learn their culture.
Yeah, totally. Even though like, I get so stressed out, there's nothing more stressful to me than like when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna speak Spanish, and then they're like standing in front of you, and I'm like, it's like I get so nervous, and I end up too because at one point was fluent in Italian, and I've been doing Italian Duolingo like 2 years now, and it was my college minor. So if I've had a couple drinks, I will speak a mix of like English, Italian, and Spanish all in once. Like I remember I was trying to say for dinner, he was like, "How many?" And I wanted to say trace, and I was also tre, and then three. So it was like tres. It's like
Yeah, that
what did
one,
I just say? I just
made
got
up a
so
word.
nervous. I know I just like made it all up. But you can definitely get away with it. But I would learn a little, and it's fun. Like it is fun to like try and and it
Absolutely.
inspires you to like learn more. I feel like that is there's nothing more impressive when someone's like, oh yeah, I speak like 2 languages. Like when someone just starts speaking another language, it's like, wow, that's so impressive. Okay. Let me see what else. What other questions um oh, someone was just asking how difficult is it to get to Altea, and we kind of already answered that. Did we try paella? Yes, we did try paella. Paella was delicious.
Yeah, we get that every time we go.
Yeah, pretty much. And then oh, is there a way to do the trip without so much walking? Yes, technically. You can find public
I
transportation.
don't
I would just
recommend it.
do
Do the walking.
average temperature and like what the temperature was like. We lucked out. You guys, for the first time in like years that we've gone on a vacation and we've lucked
We
out on
always get
weather
weather, and we're
issues.
used to it by this point, but
But it
oh my gosh,
was it
need
was
water.
like 70s sunny, especially like in the mountains a little bit north away from the water. It was like hot, like
It got to
80s.
be
In Seville it
88
was
at one
80.
day, yeah.
Yeah, and then Malaga was like Malaga. It was like 70s, mid 70s. It did not I mean, I think it sprinkled like one night, but we lucked out. That's why this is early May is like the perfect time to go. I
Because
feel
it's
like to Europe.
not super busy yet.
Not super busy. Tourist season isn't in full effect yet,
Nope.
but it's perfect weather. Like it's not too hot yet, too. It gets hot over there. And you can still go to the beach. It's just the perfect time to go if you're looking for a good time. And oh, I was driving so crazy. So that is the other thing too, is like even driving the car, I had mentioned like trying to get into Seville was like insane.
Yes.
And mostly because I mean, it's like these cities are thousands of years old. So none of the streets make sense. They're all half of them are under construction. People just walk, bikers. It's like it is the most stressful. Like even like driving around in New York, I'd rather drive in New York than I would in like some of these
Probably.
Spanish cities
Yeah.
because it's like one way. It's like none of them make sense. Like in New York, it's like it's like one 99th Street, 100th Street, 101 Street. In Europe, it's like it goes, like one street goes here, one goes there, and maps are not updated. Like we were having such an issue. You can figure it out. It's just like a challenge. It's just you always will figure it out. Drive slow and
Just be
pray for
patient.
a miracle because you just have to be patient. And I think that is like people, kind of maybe to do the last question is what was like one of the worst things or what was something you disliked about Spain? And you have to be patient. Spanish time, we talked about Fijian time. We went to Fiji. S- Spanish time, sweet time. You have to beg for the check to leave dinner.
Yep.
Dinners are 4 hours. You can't just go and stop and get one drink really quickly in 10 minutes. No, it is at least an hour. Like, even just
They won't come and check
they
on you,
will
which
they
is
never
fine.
come check on you, which
No
is fine.
pressure.
Because, like, this again, they're not getting tips. You don't tip over there, so they're working on a salary, so they don't give a shit. Like,
It's less
about
to do with
service.
that. I disagree. You guys, everyone keeps saying that. I don't agree with that.
What do you think?
I think it's just their culture. That's what
Yeah.
they do. When you come, welcome to my home. They're just going to let you come and sit and hang out, and they're not going to pressure you, and they're
Yeah,
not
but
going to
like if you were
push.
built off a tip, like when you be like, "Hey, do you guys want another drink? Hey, you want another
That's
drink?"
built off of I think that's built more. See, this is where I think that's built off of revenue. Not even the owners push you to do that sort of thing. Those are the people that make money off you getting drinks and getting all that stuff.
Yeah, but the tips, if you have a $200 check because people order 3 more drinks,
Yes. I
that's a
see what
bigger
you're
tip.
saying, but you see what I'm saying is a business owner is going to make
Yeah.
more if you eat more.
I think if you drink more, we're
Drink,
ready?
eat, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? The more you drink and eat, the more the business owner makes.
Yeah.
Right.
So right. So
But
wouldn't
even
they
the
want them
owners
to
there don't
ask?
push you. No, they
Yeah,
don't.
I know, it's really crazy.
I think it's got more to do with the culture than the tip
Yeah,
thing,
no, it is, and well, that's the thing. It is. It's just it's totally a culture thing,
which I
and
love.
everything is just so much lower. Hours are insane. Like, you literally, like, I had posted, I'm like, we were trying to go to this one restaurant that I've been obsessed with last year, and I wanted to go so bad. I was like, that's the one place on my list. And
Oh,
for restaurant,
oh, I felt so bad.
and like, none of the Google hours, they don't answer the phone. Google has like 3 different hours when they open, when they close. Like, some places will just open whenever they want, and then they'll just close for a couple hours, and they won't even say why. Like, they'll be like, I'm just gonna go take a nap, and then they'll come back. They'll be like, I don't know when I'll be back.
Same thing happened with all the Chiringuitos, the little beach restaurants.
Yeah, these so many restaurants, like,
They're open till 7.
they don't
Every
post
one of them was
anywhere.
listed open till 7. We're walking around at around 4:30, 5 to try to stop at these little beach huts that
Yeah,
serve this
they're like, oh
delicious
yeah,
food.
we're closed.
They're like, no, we're closing.
We're like, oh, okay. And yeah, like, people all middle afternoon from like 2 to 6, most places just close down. Like, just will close their doors and just no one's there. Totally closed. That is such a wild thing. And they don't work until late. Like, they don't go to work till 9 or 10 a.m. because they don't go to dinner then until 8 or 9, 10 o'clock at night. So by the time they're done dinner, that, like, everyone, like, goes home at like midnight. Like, streets are packed at midnight.
Yep.
It's wild. Even on a Tuesday night, you will see like people of all ages out on the streets.
I meant to dive
chatting.
into this theory that I have on that too.
What?
The sun comes up later.
Yeah, it's set doesn't. Yeah, maybe.
I think that that's more to do with it.
Yeah.
We worry about the time. Time means nothing. The sun is the most important part of
Yeah.
being awake, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's got more to do with the sun. Their sunrise didn't. I mean, we did not get up early by any means, but there was one morning that I was up right around 7:30, 7:45. The sun wasn't even fully up yet. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is probably part of the reason. That's my theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it's got more to do with the sun than their late risers. The sun
Yeah.
just gets up later than it does here.
Yeah.
Here, what sunrise is going to be tomorrow here?
I don't know.
6 a.m.
Something like
Let's
that.
check it out.
But, and then I would say too, one of the other things was just, like, food options are just different. The food's amazing over there, and all the food is the best quality. You look at like their ingredients list over there, and even for like their bread, like, even they serve these breadsticks, it's like wheat, flour, olive oil, yeast.
There's like 4 or 5 things.
When
That's
it's
it.
like, if you get bread crackers at like any grocery store, it's going to be 500 ingredients. So like, everything is just better, but like, there's no really such thing as salads. Like a salad like we know here. They don't really have like a ton of kale or spinach or Brussels sprouts or, stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's not. They don't grow a lot of it.
Right,
there.
because they don't grow
They
it. So
eat
that's
local.
they eat right. So that is, it's good. And if I would just think, if you're like really restrictive on diet, like if you are vegan and you don't eat gluten, what would you eat?
Don't get me started on those people.
Like, it just, like, every meal you're at least having bread, cheese, pork, tomatoes everywhere, tomatoes on everything.
Yet their health numbers are better than ours.
Yeah, totally. No,
So I'm
it's
not going to argue with it.
yeah. So, anyways, I think that was most of the questions. That is like a full hour
Those were
of
some beautiful
Spain.
questions we had.
Yeah,
Thank you
James was
all
like,
for
"How are we going to
submitting.
talk an hour about Spain?" I'm like, "Oh, we have a lot of great
That's
questions."
fantastic. I was
And
shocked.
I gave a lot of details on maybe too much. Maybe, I mean, let us know what was helpful. What else do we leave out? What other questions do you have? I'll make a list too, and I'll post it on my Instagram somewhere of all the different restaurants, all of the Airbnb links, and like the exact travel itinerary.
We're very pro Spain, as you can tell.
Yes,
I
I
would
love Spain.
highly recommend if you're thinking about going. I guess something with your mom's thing, you're like, how do you do that, right? I would say yes, planning is very important, but less thinking. Here's what I mean by that. When you're planning something, you plan it but you do it versus like, "Oh, should we? Should
Yeah,
we?
just
Should
do
we?"
it. Just plan. Just
Go
book it.
go
Book
for
it.
it.
Just
Yeah,
book it.
you'll learn as you go. And you'll like
And you'll
we
figure it
make
out.
mistakes too and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
So, anyways, back to regular scheduled programming next week, but look out for more content, obviously, on Instagram. Make sure you're following both, obviously, moi, Sam Ramsell 5 on Instagram and TikTok, even though who knows what's happening with that. And Weird and Proud Pod, also on Instagram, almost at 10K. We're slowly getting there. But we love you guys so, so much. Hope you have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time.
I love you,
Love you,
weirdlings.
weirdlings. Bye.